Hello, everybody. So, today I wanted to talk about if you're ever feeling just hopeless and you're feeling like you've wasted your life. You feel on the edge. You feel like you should have done something different. You feel like you're in a place where you want to go back in time and change things. You're comparing yourself to other people, and I should have done this and I shouldn't have done that, and what am I going to do? And whenever you get into places like this where you're falling apart. Your mind is jumping to a million different scenarios. It's comparing. It's judging you. I want you to remember some of these things that are very logical and very truthful. So, oftentimes we want to go back in time and we want to change things with the current information we now have. But the thing to really understand is that you have to go through the path you went through to come to your level of awareness where you now understand and you would like to go back, but you understand the process of the path you went is what brought you here. So we feel like, I wish I could have changed this thing, but these things are what brought us here perfectly, you know? And so many things we're learning in a very conditioned and indoctrinated society. So many old patterns of trauma and passed down habitual familiar things have been passed down and instilled in us from a very young age, or an age or a time where we weren't aware of the consequence of our habits and our thoughts and what we learned. So these are things I say to help you realize that, like, I know some days get really rough when you get in your head and you're just assaulted by these thoughts. But to really show you that you are perfect and your path is perfect. For me personally, I really get a lot out of it when I know I'm not alone. So if I'm just like dealing with all this stuff, and I really think I'm the only one who's dealing with it, and I think I'm the only one who's dealing with it on the extent that I am. So, I had a buddy message me today pretty much saying the same shit that I would say, that I always say about myself. And it's not even me. It's my mind. I just agree with the lies. And even knowing that is huge, because even knowing that we have this entity within us that, if we believe what it says, will completely take over our lives and put us on autopilot. We are absolutely possessed. And if we don't even know that, how can we regret and how can we beat up ourselves? It often takes our path to realize these things. So to be a little bit more gentle on yourself, because if you really talk to people, you're going to really see that they think the same way as you. And if they're being strong and vulnerable enough to actually communicate that, really take that to heart. Really take that to heart, that you're not alone here. And even though if you don't hear it from another person, most people feel exactly the same way you do. They may not even understand it to speak about it. And sure, there's people who that don't feel that way. But your life took the path it did to get you where you are now. And sometimes we struggle with financial things, we struggle with career things, relationships, but you didn't fail. Nothing was ever a failure, nothing was ever a mistake. And the path is not over now, so we don't understand we're in the forest from the trees. We can't see the forest from the trees. And we don't really have a good sense of judgment when we're in it, because how can we judge what is new, what is fresh, what is being created in the moment as its most aware state? You, in your most aware state, are operating at a higher capacity and potential than you ever have before, regardless of what your mind wants to make it up to be, because you have more experience. You understand, you felt it, where before you didn't know. And now that you know, you probably make a different choice in a same situation from before. It may slightly resemble it, but you're not making that choice in the same way anymore. You've adapted, you're trying out new things. You can only operate through trial and error. And what you learn from trial and error, what you learn from that experience, no one can ever take it away from you. It becomes embodied, hardwired information. You don't need to read this from a book anymore. You've got this shit like hardwired within you. So be very gentle. And when you think you're a failure and you think you're a fuck up, you think you're ugly, you think you suck, you think you're broke, you think you stink, you're not. And when you hear someone else say these things, you're like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. You're being hard on yourself when you hear that. And when I hear someone else saying the shit that I say to myself, I call it out immediately. It's like, I know what this is, with confidence, to be able to call it out, especially when it's self-rejection. Like, I know self-rejection very well. I can see it very easily because it's very simple. It's just whenever we're going against ourselves, whenever we're beating up ourselves, whenever we tell ourselves we can't do something, these programs that we've authored within ourselves and installed. And to be gentle in the fact that we didn't realize we were installing and writing programs. And if we did, we may have still written the same one for curiosity to see what it's like, so we can then have some contrast to make the most aware decision. So every step of the way is crucial. Whatever you think you did or whatever you think you didn't do had to happen, and it had to bring you here. And I see you, and I recognize you. And for me, it's to take what I see about other people and take that onto me now, and to treat myself the same way I treat other people. Because I see through the bullshit of it. I see through the self-rejection. I acknowledge and I'm aware of it within me as well. But it's a very different process between calling what you think is something out and then like actually doing the work for yourself. So like I'm in awe of how many more layers I uncover and how much more work there's always to do. There's always more work to do. You hit these points of darkness, you hit these insights. Oh, you get it. You have the answers. You feel great. Probably go back into the darkness. Go back into that place where you're confused, where you're bouncing off the walls, where you're like being introduced to new feelings, new situations, new awareness. That's a lot. It's uncomfortable. It's unfamiliar. So keep it on. Keep it on. Keep doing your good self-work. And hear my words and the same way I hear your words if I was spoken to. And know that we are all doing our best. And from the bottom of my heart, you are not a failure. You not failed. I am not a failure. And I would never even think to call someone that. But I call myself it. And it's an interesting point of perspective, even to be honest about that in this video. And now I've noticed that within myself of like, I've got to be super selfish to like really get into my own stuff because no one can do it for me. And no one could even understand to a precise degree. So it's always a lesson of like, all right, like, keep it to yourself. Do your own work. Follow your own path. Like, don't save people. You can't save people. I can't try to convince anyone of anything. I'll make a video if I'm feeling like really inspired with it. But other than that, it's a reminder for me to keep on my own stuff. So I hope this video had value to you. Felt very inspired to make today, and whatever you think about yourself, other people think it about them too. And once you hear it coming from their mouth, it illuminates the situation a lot more clear too. And it's great. And that's why I'm a fan of freedom of speech, right? Like, things have been silent for far too long. We need to just like get the information flowing and moving it out. It can't be stuck here anymore, because being stuck in here, assuming not communicating, is where problems are formed. And sometimes the truth is ugly. and we don't like the truth, but the truth is a lot better than the inevitable truth down the line with with interest tacked onto it, because that's all it ever is. Like, what's going to happen is going to happen anyways. And if you're afraid of making a choice, that choice is going to happen anyways. But the difference is you won't be the one who's making it anymore. So if you're procrastinating on a choice, and like if something's like hurting you and you're not addressing it, sometimes those decisions of what's hurting you are going to get made without you being involved in the decision process, because it's like inaction is still an action. And when we're not deciding, we're going to it's going to get decided for us in some way, and we essentially will just have to go along with that. And that's the lesson, to be more proactive in what we decide to choose to do, to take action in, because it's either us taking action or not taking action. And yeah. Have a wonderful day.